Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Trident Talks. On this episode, and during this series specifically, we're going to be talking about a hot subject right now, which is AI in security. I'm very pleased to welcome Dor, of one of the founders of Pillar Security. Welcome, Dor.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, pleasure, pleasure. Thanks for coming on. So just for the viewers' benefit, people that don't know you, I know that there's been a lot of news about you guys recently because you've recently raised, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, if you don't mind giving everyone a very brief intro as to who you are and I guess who Pillar are.
Sure, absolutely. So a little bit about my background. My cybersecurity journey started over 20 years ago as a curious kid. I spent many hours in front of the computer screen exploring the internet back then. It was the web. I got into hacking. I was very good at that. Almost got into trouble, but eventually this is what kickstarted my professional career, where I spent close to a decade working with the Israeli government on offensive cybersecurity and research. And alongside that, I led product roles in various security startups in Israel. So I think this is like kind of like my background, coming with like offensive and threat intelligence. Pillar Security is a company I founded in October 2023 together with Ziv Karliner, my co-founder and CTO. After spending over a decade building cybersecurity products for, companies, we've seen like many others that AI is changing everything. And what we are doing in Pillar is helping teams get full visibility and control into this AI transformation that's happening from a security point of view. So in essence, providing them with a unified platform to identify, assess, and mitigate security risks across the entire AI lifecycle in the organization.
Nice. Thanks for the intro. Um, I think what you guys are doing is so AI at the moment in security is a hot topic, right? And we spoke about this off camera a couple of weeks ago. There's lots of different aspects to how AI is being used, how AI is being secured. And it's kind of a little bit unknown as well at the moment. Like there's a lot of organizations doing different things. I think people are really trying to pinpoint as to what they do and how they're beneficial in today's world.
Mhm.
Um, like we have agentic AI, for example, that's helping humans get the most out of the tools they have by using it in some way, shape, or form. What you guys are doing is a little bit different, and I know there's other companies that are doing similar things, but you guys are essentially securing software. You're securing the AI piece within the software build, right? Um, Talk to me a little bit about like the importance of that because software in today's world is massive. Um, yeah,
Mhm.
can you go into a little bit more detail about how Pillar does that and what you're trying to achieve? Because I found it really fascinating.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe I can start like basically what is changing today in
Sure.
the software world that requires like new security. So short answer is basically everything. AI is changing the way we build software, and it's also changing the way of like what software is really. And as we see it in a few years, every piece of software will be powered by those non-deterministic black boxes, essentially AI models. And just like we had with the cloud transformation that, at the beginning we used to call it like cloud applications, but now it's basically every application. So every application will be an AI powered application. But in this case, in this intelligent age that we are entering, as I mentioned, everything is different. So software now, for the first time, has agency, right? It's not a tool. It can act on its own. And from a security point of view, it's a completely new challenge that we've never seen before. Another thing that's now happening in the AI era is that suddenly data is executable. So all the inputs you provide those systems, right? We used to think of data as like something static that sits in databases, but now with AI applications, with agentic systems, every input, every prompt, every additional context, every data that's provided is now an instruction, can be executed. And I think this is also something like that it's really, fundamental and changing the way that we used to think of software. Like we used to build software. Software like was built with logic aside, and then you have that I said, and now it's kind of like on the same plane. And this again creates like a very big like and new risks around this that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's the sheer size of like the addressable, not necessarily the addressable market, but the addressable problem, right? And what you guys are trying to safeguard companies from is huge. Like any company that is building software is essentially you can help them. Um, how does your like without going into too much detail and obviously giving away your secret sauce, but how does Pillar do that? Like, what's the aim of the product? What are you guys building and how does it work?
Yeah, so what we're doing at Pillar is literally integrating into existing processes and workflows and development environments that AI and data teams are now using to build AI software. And the way we do it is like integrate seamlessly and then map those environments, those platforms to identify all the different AI and ML assets. It can be like the models they're using, the data sets that are being used, the prompts, system prompts, meta prompts, notebooks, every AI asset, MCP servers, agentic configuration and rule files. So really mapping everything. And once identifying and mapping those assets, the next step we're doing is helping teams understand like what are the risks, what are the compliance gaps that now they're exposed to with those assets, with those AI projects. And the way we do it is by running some static scanning, so identifying every model, scanning every model for security risk, for supply chain risk, scanning every environment, every notebook for security best practices and credentials and sensitive data, and also doing more dynamic advanced testing that are required to test those non-deterministic systems like LLM models. So the way we do it is by running red teaming simulations. So we are really trying to mimic an attacker and adversarial users that thinks what can go wrong with this application, and literally executing the cyber attack kill chain, but tailored for those agentic applications in order to identify what are the gaps, right? Because these are non-deterministic system, like models that were trained inside the labs of OpenAI, Anthropic, and they've been tested there, right, to some degree, but it's very isolated and limited. But when you release those systems and connect to them sensitive data and mission critical, right, applications and use cases, you are suddenly creating a new gap that needs to be tested and protected. And this is where our focus really is at Pillar.
It's very interesting. I I'd like to like kind of understand. This is kind of a loaded question, right? A big question. You don't have to give me a full answer because you probably get asked this all the time. But the next, like AI's blown up, right, over the last
Mhm.
24 months. Like it's crazy. And in security, it's more prominent than ever. Like we've always used some form of AI, whether it's machine learning or, what that may be. But AI has become a real focus in security. And I think, like I said at the start, there's companies that are using AI to build products, to enhance products that maybe have been in the market for 10 years. But there's also companies that are building products like yourself that's securing against different aspects of AI. What do you think is the hottest kind of area in the next 12 months? If you could rub your magic ball, crystal ball, and look into the future, like where do you see this space going? Like, because there's more and more companies growing and growing and growing all the time.
Yes, that's a great question. So,
Sorry to put you on the spotlight.
no, no, it's I love those kind of questions. So, I will answer it by asking a question and then answering that question as well. But,
Sure.
if you're looking ahead in the next like 12 months or, like in like 18 months in this like new AI augmented future we are uh, now approaching, which will pose a greater cybersecurity threat, increasingly autonomous AI agents or the humans who create them, right? Like the employees. And if you think about, this question for a moment, this is really why I think that like, Pillar here is like going to be required and needed for every agentic system, because eventually they will be those that will experience the attack. So like I'll give you an example. Agentic system that now browse the internet can fall into, web attack and or download files, malicious files and execute them, and also can be infected and also can be tricked very easily, like with phishing emails and other, like attacks that again like tricking human beings. But now it's those agentic systems that have the permissions, the access to sensitive data, but can also be very easily fooled. So this is, I think, where we're heading. Like we're gonna need to address this new kind of digital species. I think they're like some like call to them that's gonna be appear and in every organization. This is like the future of enterprise work in my opinion. And like we are here like to really like address this gap from security point of view.
Yeah, and I think the fact is we're kind of there now, right? It's not whereas even 12 months ago, people were talking about AI is advancing, it's going to be affecting in the security space. And there was companies that were kind of emerging out of building tech to protect against AI, but it's really blown up in the last 6 months, and we've seen it a lot, right? And some of the funding rounds
Hmm.
and the investment that's been put into AI specifically in security is huge. Um, no, look, thanks. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for the insight into what Pillar do. From my perspective, look, definitely one to look out for and already making good headlines and good waves. I appreciate you joining us and thanks for the time today.
Awesome. Thank you very much.